Hello there, everybody. How's it going? Hopefully, all of you are doing very, very well. This is THP talking to you guys once again, and I wanted to give you guys a review for WarioWare Gold. And the way that these things usually go is that I say short version, long version is highly edited. I even, play around with the blue screen a lot, and I have like a script and I read it out, almost like, a typical like video game review site kind of format, like game trailers, IGN, that kind of thing, so sort of format. But I kind of want to deviate away from that a little bit to kind of describe things sort of more naturally in my own words, especially with WarioWare Gold specifically, because I have a lot of feelings in me when it comes to WarioWare Gold. I'm very conflicted. I don't love the game, but I don't hate it either. I'm kind of in the middle of just kind of, it's WarioWare. But I was kind of expecting more out of it. Again, like the short version of my review is essentially, it's good, but if you've played all the previous ones, you don't have to play this one at all. It's not worth $40 at all, especially with all the time that we have spent waiting for a brand new, like legitimate WarioWare game. I feel like it's way too little, way too late. Especially, it is super far into the 3DS's timeline, and the Switch is already out, and so you're kind of expecting, okay, maybe we'll get a WarioWare game on the Switch. Well, not really. We're getting it on a 3DS, and it's this recycled greatest hits album of all of the older stuff with such a minimal amount of brand new microgames. I think there's like 316 microgames, and like slightly more than 300, and I think there's like 50 that are actually new. And so that's what, like 1/6 of the entire game that is actually new, and everything else, even the mini games and the collectibles and all that stuff, are for the most part just recycled stuff from the previous game. And yeah, I just feel like the game really isn't worth the time investment. The only reason why I would say that it's worth playing is if you're a fan of the older WarioWare games and you don't really have those consoles readily available. Like if you don't have a GameCube to play the first one, or a GBA to play the original WarioWare, or Twisted if you don't have a DS for touch, if you don't have, the Wii for smooth moves, or if you don't even have a Wii U for Game & Wario, if you don't have any of that, literally none of those consoles, and you only have a 3DS, well then, I would recommend WarioWare Gold to you. But for a guy like me who already has those consoles, and I already remember all of those games fondly, I don't feel like I need to waste my time with this game. And I really did feel like I was wasting my time, with the exception of all the parts in between the microgames, because the only thing that is actually new here is that there's voice acting, and that's pretty much it. Of course, there's like little story bits in between every single level that you get into, basically, after every set of microgames in the story mode. But again, WarioWare is not necessarily known for its great narrative and its deep lore, right? It is very simple stuff, right? Very like, even a kindergartner can understand what the hell is going on. But the additions of voices, I feel, does add to the experience. It is a little jarring, a little strange hearing Wario speak in full sentences. Of course, reprised by Charles Martinet, who you know for a fact, like when he's voice acting Wario, he's eating up the scenery, he's chewing it up. He absolutely had a blast playing as Wario. You can tell just from the way that Wario performs that, it was a really fun thing to do. Like, Charles Martinet is and always has been a natural at all of these characters, Mario, Luigi, Wario, Luigi. And, yeah, it really shines here, because you don't really spend a whole lot of time listening to any of the Mario characters really talk at length. And so, finally, we're hearing it in this manner. And to think, to see a property, to see something like Nintendo, and let alone Mario characters, at this point you'd think we've seen everything from them, right? But they still introduce a brand new aspect of it, which is just having them talk at length about stuff. And I think that's pretty good. Now, granted, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the voice acting is perfect. For all of the other characters that aren't Wario, it feels like I am watching, like, one of those fucking, like, Rosetta Stone videos for, like, Japanese people that are trying to learn English. Like, the intonation, like, the speed of how they talk, how, like, strangely separate and isolated everything sounds from each other. Like, my favorite one, the best example of this, is the Mona story, where it happens like, I'm going to be late for my party, and I don't know what to wear. Oh, let me help you with that. Wow, you have a lot of style, Joe. Oh, really? Why, thank you. Like, everything is so very simple and bare bones and like strangely stilted. Like, I feel like they're gonna quiz me at the end of it, right? Like, they're gonna leave some space blank and be like, oh, Mona wants to find what? Clothes, a car, an invitation. I feel like I'm watching an instructional video for how to speak English. And so it just doesn't sound as natural. And like, a lot of the dialogue is very simplistic in that sense of like everything is just kind of like a few words. There really isn't a lot of complexity to all of it. There's this really annoying character called Lulu that just kind of pops in for no reason at the beginning of the story. That's like, I'm gonna get you, Wario! Like, okay, who are you, for what reason, why? And she just has this really strange moment where she just kind of says random stuff. I need to take him on! And then a second later, I gotta get going. And then the other second, rainbow! Like, just, is this child with, like, ADHD that just, like, her sentences just don't feel like they connect from one to the other. And the same thing I would say for most of the characters in WarioWare. I mean, the performances themselves are good. It's just kind of like the script, right? If you can even call it a script. I feel like, kindergarten Kailu kind of section where, like, your cat is cute. Can I take a picture? Sure, baby. Take a picture. It just sounds like... It just sounds odd, A lot of it does sound good, but, especially Wario. But everybody else just sounds like they're robots trying to teach other non-English speaking people how to speak English. Now, this small criticism seems pretty minimal in comparison to other games because WarioWare has always had this strange, like, oddball humor. And so you can kind of make some very loose excuses. The voice acting kind of contributes to that. But, yeah, I mean, it doesn't really... The stilted voice acting doesn't really affect it as much as it would, like, an actual, like, a serious RPG or, like, a Fallout game or just something that wants to take itself more seriously. If it had voice acting like this, then it'd be crappy. But because it's very lighthearted, very odd, very kind of, offbeat... then yes, you can kind of excuse it. You can kind of interpret that as like, oh, that just kind of adds to the charm of it. I mean, I would argue that, it doesn't, or that it was at least unintentional. But if that's what people want to, see it as, then sure, I'm not going to stop you. Now, I am looking at a Word document right next to me here on my computer screen because I don't want to get too sidetracked. As I said, I did write like a whole 3-page review on this game, but I just felt strange sort of reading it out without really getting into super specifics as to the issues that I have with it. So I did make a bunch of bullet points, and I will be reading them out and just kind of iterate on them if I feel like I'm not being clear enough. So I have a list of positives, and the positives are basically what I said. The voice acting does add to the experiences. The performances are solid, even if they do sound like kind of instructional videos most of the time. Oddball humor, of course, has always been fun. The unlockables after beating the story are pretty nice. I felt like after beating the story, there was literally no reason for me to ever do it again. Other than getting the achievements, which are also kind of useless. They just kind of give you coins, which is something that you're already doing by doing literally anything else. Doing any of the other challenge modes, or playing the mini games, or anything. Like, everything short of, like, looking at the options menu gives you coins in some way. And so doing the achievements just gives you more coins, and they're not particularly interesting. It's just like, get a high score of this in this minigame, get a high score of this with this guy's story and that guy's story, and then get a bunch of coins for clearing everybody's story and unlocking all the micro games. It's just very much milestone kind of stuff. They never really make you attempt at anything interesting. And how could you? It's kind of limited, the micro game stuff to what you can do. So, the achievements, I can kind of live without. It doesn't really matter. But, in the story as well, after you beat it one time, like, there's, the only reason for why you would play them again is so that you can hit those milestones and get coins for the achievements. But other than that, there is zero reason for why you would ever want to play them again after beating them once, especially when you unlock a challenge menu option where it just gives you a whole bunch of different branches of different challenges, or like, oh, they mix in all of the micro games from the button mashing section or the touchscreen section, or just all of them fused into one, and that's interesting. I feel like the biggest challenge and the most fun I've gotten from the game is just mixing all of the games into one section, and without even giving me a warning. Like, if you guys remember WarioWare Smooth Moves, where you would have different stances with the Wii Remote, they would warn you before the micro game showed up. Be like, okay, do this thing. That's the micro game you'll be doing. Okay, now hold it like this, just before you do the actual micro game. Well, here you have the option of having the game notify you if it's like a button mashing thing or a touchscreen or a, gyro twisted kind of thing. Or, it can just not tell you. And so for me, I like that. I like it when it doesn't tell me and it mixes all of them. And I just have to figure it out as I go because there are many different things that I can play around with. But even then, that gets boring fairly quickly because, again, there's only like 300 or so micro games and only 50 of them are actually new. And that does sound like a lot, but when you think about it, all of these micro games are micro. They last like 2 or 3 seconds per game. And so that doesn't amount to a whole lot. And you definitely see so many of them repeating over and over and over and over and over again. And it gets tiresome. I feel like it has come to the point in a WarioWare where I don't know if I can take another super duper really short WarioWare game. Like I beat the entire story in like 2 hours. And maybe not even that, just like an hour or two. It was a very, very short thing. And so when you go into the index where you see everybody's micro games and you see the ones that you've unlocked and you didn't unlock, there's always like 1 or 2, that we're missing. So like just the one run through of the entire story mode, you've already seen like 90% of all of the different micro games that the game has to offer. And you can basically unlock all of the other ones by doing the challenge mode, where, in the challenge mode, they don't reserve it to just the ones that you have unlocked. Like, you can discover new ones in those modes as well. So, yeah, after you beat it once, no reason to do the story mode anymore. You've already unlocked most micro games. And basically, from this point on, is just grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding coins constantly. So that you can do the fucking little capsule machine so that it can randomly give you a prize. Now, these don't repeat. There are like trading cards and little mini games, soundtrack CDs, and little collectibles. Like a lot of these seem cool, but most of these seem like completely useless things that don't do anything, and there's really no reason for them to be there. Just fluff for the capsule machine. There's like, oh, here's an NES. Here's a Virtual Boy. Here's this obscure accessory that's like a steering wheel. Like, it just shows you all the stuff, and they give you like a little paragraph of the history behind it. Which, history-wise, I guess it's fine. I'd rather have that as like a trophy for like Super Smash Brothers and not necessarily an unlockable for WarioWare Gold. Especially knowing that I have like a card game that I can unlock. But you practically have to have every single item unlocked. And so it is a little frustrating when you're wanting to get these items that unlock the card game for you, but like you keep twisting the damn capsule machine, you keep getting notes for a telephone. They give you like a quirky line of dialogue, and like that's it. A lot of it is worthy of looking at for like 5 seconds and then never again. And like even the mini games are just recycled mini games from previous WarioWare games. You're very rarely going to see any original ones. You have like the Mutroid, where you have like the little cat. Oh, but you have Mutroid 2 this time, where it's the same thing, but instead of shooting up, you're shooting down. Like, there really isn't a whole lot here that's new or interesting, or at least anything that you can't just play with any of the older games that are already out. Like, that's the problem that I have with this game, is that the game is good, but only because all of the older games that came before it are good, right? It doesn't really do a whole lot to stand on its own. And I think what it does have, the voice acting, the story, and, just all of the card game, basically. Like, I just, when I stop and think about, like, what in this game is actually new. Like, 50 micro games. Okay? There's, like, maybe 1 or 2 brand new characters, like 9Volt's mom and this Lulu girl. But, like, they don't really do much of anything, and a lot of their theming is the same. I remember with WarioWare, the original one, there were, like, a variety, a bunch of different topics. It was, like, life, and sports, and IQ, and space, a bunch of different things. And here, it just seems like there's fucking 3. Like, Nintendo-related, life, and, like, Wario-themed. Like, there's only, like, a small handful of these categories. When I remember back with the older ones, there was like a wider breadth of stuff that they would offer. that I'm just not seeing here at all. And that's kind of my dilemma, you know? I play WarioWare Gold because it's good and, you know, it's enjoyable, but after the first time that you beat it, I really don't have any reason to, you know, play through it anymore, other than to keep grinding coins constantly, playing the same micro games and the same challenges over and over and over and over again until you eventually get enough coins to, like, be lucky enough to get all the items that you need to unlock the fucking card game that isn't even all that interesting to begin with. It's like rock, paper, scissors, but, like, more complicated, because it has stats and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, it's still rock, paper, scissors. It really isn't all that fun. Like, I played it for, like, fucking 5 minutes, and I got bored real quick. Like, all of that effort that I put into, like, unlocking everything and grinding out all these fucking coins so that I can get this fucking card game and getting fucking bored was not worth it in any way. Like, I regret wasting my time on that. It just makes me want to go back and play all the older games instead of, you know, spending the fucking $40 that it took me to just fucking play this recycled ass fucking thing. Like, even Rhythm Heaven was $30, by the way. It was cheaper. And that one also had a bunch of recycled shit on it as well. But it had, you know, a more elaborate story. It had more stuff to offer. It just, everything about Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix was more interesting and more well taken care of. And here in WarioWare, it just seems like kind of a botched job. It just seemed like they kind of slapped together a bunch of stuff. And it's sad because I see all of the effort put into remaking a lot of the old micro games, when I feel like all of that effort could have been done in actually providing new micro games instead of just revamping all of the micro games that did not need any revamping at all. If anything, I would appreciate it a lot more if they just preserved them the way that they were originally, instead of just making all of these micro games look very homogenous, you know, have all of them kind of look the same, which is, it sucks, because one of the things that I liked about WarioWare, especially the original one, is that none of them looked the same. You know, all of them looked fairly different, and they all now have kind of like this Ko Takeuchi, they all kind of have the same sort of WarioWare, aesthetic, you know? Of course, some of them look pixelated, some of them have different art styles, right? But just, there are a lot more games that look similar and that look the same, rather than in other WarioWare games, especially the Game Boy Advance ones, that look more distinctive. Like, every single micro game kind of had an identity of its own, and now all of them just kind of blend together in a way that I don't know if I'm okay with. And they feel slower as well. Like, is it just me, or do the micro games in this WarioWare game feel like twice as slow as any of the other games that I've played? Like, I felt like, with the Game Boy ones, and even with Smooth Moves on the Wii, you just went through that fast. But here, it seems like they give you a lot of time to kind of just bumble your way through the micro games, and then give you a long countdown, and then it ends, you know? It feels a lot less micro than the way that I usually play my micro games in all the other WarioWare titles. But yeah, I can't really come up with a whole lot more to say about WarioWare Gold. Like, that's strange. Like, I have a kind of like a love-hate relationship with this game, because I played it and I enjoyed it for the first time that I played it, and then after that, I kind of just got really bored. Like, all of my fun very much deflated, especially thinking I spent $40 on this when all of the games that this game is based on I can just play right now. That's why I want to stress that if you don't have any of the consoles that have those previous Wario games on them, or if you simply, like, if you want to reminisce, if you want to have a nostalgia trip, or if you've never played WarioWare, there we go. Like, that's the perfect fucking demographic for WarioWare Gold. If you have never played a WarioWare game in your life, this is the WarioWare game to get. This is absolutely the number one WarioWare game to explore. And if you're interested, you can go back and play any of the other ones. But if you're a WarioWare fan and you're here expecting something new, you're not. You're gonna get the bare fucking minimum of new content. Again, like 1/6 of the micro games are new. 50 of them are new, and like all of the other ones, like the other 250, are fucking you know, the same stuff as any of the other ones. Even a lot of the boss battles are the same. I remember I think there was like a micro game on the Wii where you can like direct people to certain bathrooms depending on their color. You can do that here as well, but with like gyro controls. The boxing one is exactly the same one as from I forget what game it's from. I think like WarioWare Touch or something. In one of the WarioWare games, there was one where you would do like punch-out style boxing, and here they do it exactly the same, but it just looks different. And yeah, and the card game doesn't really do much for me either. So if you're a fan and you've played the previous games, don't buy this. It is $40 fucking dollars. Like, it's way too much for the very little new content that you get. I feel like this effort could have been used elsewhere, just for the most part. Both, you know, they should have not, you know, put in the effort on revamping all the micro games or putting out a 3DS WarioWare. Like, I know people get really annoying when people say, oh, this should have been on the Switch, or why not on the Switch? You know, there's like this group of people that just want every single fucking game ever made to be on the Switch, just because it's portable, right? And I think it's kind of stupid and a little short-sighted, but when it comes to WarioWare specifically, I feel like their efforts would have been so much better placed if they just made a full-on, brand new WarioWare game on a Nintendo Switch with a brand new mini games, brand new mechanics, introducing new stuff, and it would really feel like a step forward when they introduced the voice acting and all that stuff. I feel like that would have been great. You know, deal with like the HD Rumble and all that shit. Like, they had so much stuff that they could have done. I could definitely see all of the, you know, the sectioning off of the micro games. Like, oh, here's the mashy part, here's the motion control part, here's the pointy part, here's the Joy-Con to point at the screen for stuff, you know? I feel like, and of course, multiplayer would have been easier to do, you know, with like sideways Joy-Cons or stuff like that. But for some reason, they decided to put this out on the 3DS, and again, just recycle all the old stuff and just put it here, charge you $40, and I just feel deflated. I just feel, I hate using this word because I feel like people just kind of blurt it out for every single tiny little thing, but I just feel disappointed, you know? Like, I just, after so much time waiting for like a more legit, more well put together WarioWare game, you know, I think the last like good one that we had was WarioWare Smooth Moves on the Wii, and then we had you know, DIY on the DSi, and then we had Game & Wario. And I think that's it. Like, you know, those couple of games didn't really satisfy that WarioWare itch for most people. And then you hear, like, way later on the 3DS's life cycle, hey, we're gonna get WarioWare Gold, brand new WarioWare game. Hey, and it's all just the old shit again. You know, like, I just want something new because I know that these guys are creative enough to really bring it. Maybe they just recycled this shit and they put it out there just to kind of gauge interest. I have no idea. But, they doubled down, for sure. Like, they did it with Rhythm Heaven, and they did it again with fucking Wario, and I am not liking this trend of them just recycling the old shit and just, you know, polishing it a little bit and be like, okay, here we go, nice and shiny, it looks different, so spend $40 on that. I didn't think it was worth it at all. I honestly, like, I usually don't regret putting in money on games, you know? I very rarely say, oh man, I fucking spent $60 on this. Like, I usually never say that. But with WarioWare Gold specifically, I feel like, you know, that was always, like, in my mind. I was like, I spent fucking $40 on this, you know? For, like less than a quarter of the game to actually be new. It just doesn't, that's not something that I'm okay with. We need a brand new Rhythm Heaven on the Switch with everything new. And we need WarioWare on the Switch with everything new, with all of the HD Rumble stuff and the sideways Joy-Con stuff and the motion controls and everything. We need a brand new one of these. I don't know if they ever recycle stuff again. It has to be on top of whatever new they have, you know? I would be perfectly okay with taking all 300 of these micro games on the 3DS version and moving them over to the Switch, plus maybe like another 300 for the Switch. Because, yeah, I don't know if I can handle another fucking 90-minute WarioWare game. I feel like we have, the series has gone on long enough where I feel like you can make something that is better, longer, and doesn't just, you know, rehash a bunch of this older stuff. And I feel like I'm just repeating myself at this point, because that's basically, like, my big issue with it. It just feels like there's nothing new here. And, I struggle to recommend it to a fan. And I struggle a lot less in recommending it to a newcomer, because obviously a newcomer didn't play the GameCube one, or the advanced one, or the Wii one, and chances are they don't have any of those consoles nowadays. They probably just have a 3DS and a Switch. So, you know, just go for it. I honestly, and if you are looking for like a good game to play on 3DS, right now I've been playing so much more 3DS than I have Switch recently because there've been a lot of good games coming out for this recently. But if you're the kind of idiot that for some reason thinks that 3DS should no longer exist just because the Switch exists, well, this is a good game to have. You know, this is a good game for. If you want to be a cynical prick and be like, whoa, wipe the dust off of the 3DS. Oh, finally get it out of that closet. Well, you can wipe the dust off, you fucking cynical prick, for WarioWare Gold, if you're interested. But honestly, like, as a WarioWare fan, as somebody who has played all the games, as somebody who was really aching for new WarioWare, not rehashed WarioWare, I don't recommend this. If you're a WarioWare fan, you should wait for like a Nintendo Switch version or something. If you're brand new, if you've never heard of WarioWare ever in your life and you want to try it out, play this game. There's a really good entry course, a good like cram school course into getting to know Wario and WarioWare and his off-ball humor, and now with voice acting, so, you know, that's good. So yeah, I'm sure I'm going to anger a lot of people because, you know, Nintendo is like the golden child for a lot of people, especially WarioWare. So like I feel like the one thing I'm gonna say about it that's bad, they're gonna be like, oh, you just don't get it, or you're stupid, or fucking. I can already see the dislikes from a mile away. I'm prepared for that. I know I'm ready for it, but I don't know, man. I mean, they're just kind of the way that I feel. I'm in two minds about it. Like, this half of my mind is saying this game is good because it's still WarioWare and it's still micro games and it has that humor and the voice acting. There's all of the mini games, even though they're the same as the older ones, they're still good and they're still fun, and there's some new ones in there too. But then I have this other half of my brain that says this is all the same shit that you've already been playing a while back. You already have the GameCube version, just go play that. The micro games in the GameCube version look better. The ones on the DS look better. The ones on the Wii, you know, are a lot more fun, you know. I just feel like there was a lot more care in any of the previous ones, and here it really feels like, you know, I can't believe it's not WarioWare, you know, like WarioWare greatest hits, you know, Kids Bop Wario or something like that. They're like a compilation of all the best stuff, and I would argue that is not even the best stuff. I feel like they kind of, you know, cut out a lot of the other ones that I would have loved to see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm very split, like exactly like 50-50 to like, this game is good, get it, or this game is not worth the time, don't get it. And so I'm just conflicted, and that's why I wanted to make this review be unscripted, for me to just rant and go for as long as I possibly can, because I thought that maybe by talking about it, just naturally, I'd be able to find some sort of consensus to say, okay, good, bad, worth it, not worth it. And I feel like at the end of this video, I am still conflicted. I am still, like, you know, not really sure what to do, other than to just kind of judge on a case-by-case basis. I've already said it a million times, but I will end this review by saying it again. If you're a fan of WarioWare, and you're coming into this expecting a brand new thing, stay away. If you don't know anything about WarioWare, you're a complete newcomer, or if you just don't have any of the older consoles, and you don't have, if you're not like me, where I'm like an enthusiast, and I like have all the consoles, and I have all these games, and I can go to my living room right now and just play the GameCube version of WarioWare, or I can just go on my DS and play WarioWare Touched right now. If you don't have any of that, then I think the, you know, the 3DS version, WarioWare Gold, is the perfect place for you to get like 4 games in one, kind of. But, you know, again, all of the micro games look very homogenized and kind of samey. The challenges, even though they're really fun, they really don't do a whole lot for me when I'm just playing through the same fucking micro games over and over again. I feel like I'm playing through like the same ones way too frequently. I don't like that the minority of the content is new and the majority is just rehashed. I know that they advertised it from the very beginning, that it'd just be like a compilation of all the old stuff, I know, but like, still, this is not what WarioWare is, you know? They're very WarioWare is very much like the bad boy to Mario, you know, the rebel, you know, the one that's like, oh, hey, look at that goody two-shoes mainstream guy. Well, fuck that. We're gonna do some weird experimental shit, and you're gonna like it because it's creative and different. And even if it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. These micro games last like 2 seconds each, right? So you just throw idea after idea after idea constantly. And so for Nintendo to play it safe with WarioWare Gold seems to go almost completely against what WarioWare is all about. But again, that's just me. And the same thing goes for Rhythm Heaven as well. Even though I think Rhythm Heaven is A, cheaper, and B, a much better game than WarioWare Gold. Like, if I had to put, like, Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix versus WarioWare Gold, Rhythm Heaven, like, just blows them out of the water. Like, don't spend 40 bucks. Spend 30 instead and get Rhythm Heaven Mega Mix. That's so much more worth of your time than WarioWare. But anyway, that was my review slash rant on WarioWare Gold. I don't know if this is really much of a review. I just felt like I was just sort of word vomiting all of my thoughts out there. I've been thinking and rewriting this review for like 3 days. I have the 3 pages right here, but it's all like incoherent fucking paragraphs that are not necessarily connecting with one another. Maybe I'll put it out on like my Tumblr or some shit if you guys ever want to, you know, read my typed out thoughts on it. But that's basically what I think about the game. And I know I'm gonna get a lot of dislikes. I can already see it from a mile away. But just please try and understand where I'm coming from. Just try and be gentle. I seriously did enjoy this game. But looking at it from a much more critical eye, looking at, you know, what is actually there, I just don't feel like this game is worth $40 at all. I feel like all of this effort could have easily have been used on making a brand new Nintendo Switch WarioWare game and a brand new Rhythm Heaven game as well, for that matter. But those are my thoughts. If you agree or disagree, feel free to let me know in the comments. Give it a like if you did agree, and the very predictable, I know it's coming, the dislike if you didn't, you know, agree with this. You can subscribe if you're interested. Hit that bell icon if you want to be notified on everything that's going on. I like to stream very often, and I am very much going through a bit of a turning point when it comes to this channel. A lot of the videos that I want to put, at least on the main channel, I want them to be a bit more meaningful rather than just like 80 episodes of like a Let's Play. That's kind of what the second channel is for. That's kind of what I do there because I live stream, and so all of that just goes to the second channel, and that's basically the same as the Let's Plays, but it's you know, 5 hours in one video rather than like 20 minutes over a month. It's just a different delivery format, you know? And so when it comes to the main channel, I kind of want to do more review stuff and commentary and news and, you know, just anything that is just a little bit more better put together, you know? And so maybe it might be something like this where I just, you know, talk incessantly about this game, or it can be something more scripted and better put together, like, you know, all of the other videos that I have on my GGHF review playlist. But yeah, just go ahead and let me know what you guys think. I'm very interested, actually, in seeing what people have to say about this game. I've been reading the reviews for WarioWare Gold, and a lot of it sounds like nobody's ever played a fucking WarioWare game before. Like, everybody's talking about it like it's their very first WarioWare, and it's like, you can do all this crazy stuff. And it's like, yeah, but that was like fucking GameCube days, you know? Like, we've already seen it many times before, and we're just getting it again. Like, exactly. You copy-paste again, you know? I'm not even talking similar. I'm talking exactly the same. But, you know, if you guys think that I'm missing out on something, or there's something that I just don't get, or whatever, you know, I'm very curious, just from a hardcore fan's perspective, what are your thoughts on WarioWare Gold? Because, it just seems like all of these reviews that I'm reading online, it sounds like it's coming from the mouth of somebody that has never played WarioWare before, and I can definitely understand the high review scores from that perspective. But from a hardcore fan, anybody that's played any of the previous games, I can't possibly, like, see this game going beyond a 6 or a 7 tops. But that's just me. Let me know what you think. I'll see you guys next time. Please be gentle. Don't hate me too much. I like Nintendo stuff, I promise. Bye.